What up, world? Welcome to another episode of Cuppa Mud, where real conversations take place with individuals who truly understand what it means to overcome and still have success despite barriers and obstacles. Simply put, they got it out the mud. On today's episode, I have a dear friend of mine, Dr. U.A. Thompson. Man of many means, many resources, someone that I've had a ton of conversations with about life, fatherhood, just being a man in general, who I share a common passion with in the cigar world, in the bourbon world. So Dr. Thompson, man, thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
On another episode of Cuppa Mud. So I've always wanted to have this conversation because we have them privately, right, amongst friends, right. But now we get an opportunity to have a conversation that lets the world into a little bit of our daily conversations amongst each other. So over the last, I would say 15, 20 years, man, I've watched you endure a number of things. Mm-hmm. But the question I never asked you was, how and why? You know, was it something on the other end that made you continue to push because you saw something that needed to be done for the community or for yourself?
I would say it's a combination of both. Every person in life at some point have to develop mental toughness. Life is going to be unkind at times, especially when you add in all of the extra components that we have to deal with as black and brown people in a predominantly white society. It comes also with its own sets of issues. And so you have to develop mental toughness early on and decide that you're not going to let anything break you, but you're going to let it make you bow. And the bowing is the humility. And God seems to reward humility in ways that people just don't understand. Arrogance, as we know, is often met with a fall, but humility is always met with a hand to pull you up even higher. And I think that's a part of it. Mental toughness, staying focused, deciding early on that no matter what happens along the way, the destination that I'm going for, I will get there. No matter how many turns, no matter how many bends, no matter how many bumps in the road, I'm going to meet it, and I'm going to see that destiny through to its end.
So, young entrepreneur, right? Say we have a few young entrepreneurs right now in today's climate. What advice do you give them when it comes to weathering storms or hearing the no?
Yeah. Well, I would say first I would have to back up, and I'd say before you go into entrepreneurship, I think you should work on yourself because it might look easy. Others, you, myself included, make some of the stuff we tackle and accomplish look very easy from the outside looking in, but you and I both know that those things are not always that easy. You know, they come with a set of circumstances that are not always favorable for you, and you have to overcome a set number of setbacks. You have to hear no sometimes more than you get to the yes. But if you don't have the right mental fortitude as an entrepreneur, you won't survive those seasons of rejection, those seasons of the no, those seasons when the business is failing, those seasons when the business is in a vacuum, those seasons when the phone isn't ringing and nobody wants you to do anything for them. I think those times you have to recognize that it's a serious situation, and your business don't need to suffer because you're having a mental breakdown or some type of mental emotional excursion. You have to focus and stay committed to what you're doing. So the first rule of thumb for every entrepreneur, I think, is work on yourself. The second, get in there and just do it. Don't look for nobody else to do it for you. You can't even look for your own family and friends to patronize you and support you. You shouldn't even, expect it. If they do, hats off, congratulations. If they don't, hats off, congratulations. Find your niche, find your market, and keep pushing it until you make that business into what you think it should be or want it to be.
Wow. So, in saying, how important is mentorship in our community?
I think mentorship in our community is essential. We're first generation wealth in our community. Think about that. First generation wealth, meaning, and oftentimes we lack what others who don't look like us have readily available to them. We don't have the privilege of asking our father or grandfather or uncle about a multi-million-dollar deal or decision, or how to get a multi-million-dollar loan. We don't have the luxury of being able to pick up the phone and call our father, grandfather, uncles, or anyone of the nature and say, hey, will you show me how to hook this business up to this business, or how to scale my business, or how to move my business across state lines. We don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of getting involved in foreign interest, of pulling items and merchandise from China or South Korea and importing it into the U.S. and creating the market for it. We don't have those luxuries. So we learn everything via trial and error in the school of hard knocks. We can lessen that and create more of an entrepreneurial track in the black and brown community if we had more mentors out there who are willing to be open and honest about the plight and about the situation by which they are endeavoring upon with their mentee, and not a commercialized fluff type of oh, this is what you got to do. This is, spare me the commercial. Tell me the nuts and bolts. Tell me the real deal of the situation. I don't want to hear the commercialized version, because I can read that in a book. I can pick that up by listening to some podcast or something. I need the real mentorship that's going to tell me how to endure when the rubber meets the road. That's going to tell me how to survive. That's going to tell me how to fight back. That's going to tell me how to keep from being discouraged during those discouraging moments, how to keep from being depressed during those depression moments. I need real mentorship. Somebody I can pick up the phone and call in the middle of the night when I'm having an anxiety attack because I've got a big project in the morning and I don't have the means of making it happen. And I think those things are essential. There's a white, wealthy businessman of mine who often said, you know, when I do get to the point of doing the podcast, he wanted to be my first guest because he wanted to help people understand that you can have a multi-million-dollar business, you can live in a multi-million-dollar house, you can have all this stuff going for you, and sometimes $10,000 at that level will make you or break you. Those are the things people don't know. Those are the things they don't understand. When somebody is wealthy, that's not always articulated into liquid. Many times it's in assets. Many times it's set up in stocks and bonds and mutual funds. It's property. And you have to liquidate or divest that or borrow against that in order to make business conducive. So the bigger you are, sometimes the worse it can get. Correct. So you know, we have to mentor each other in these things, and the experiences I've had over the last 45 years, I can pass on to somebody else. I can share with somebody else. I can tell somebody else, hey, this is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. This is what it really is. I've had a bank call my notes and I didn't have it. I've been sued for $10 million and settled for $6 million. I've been all those things, so I know what it feels like. I've had all the stress, the pressure, the anxiety. I've been through the depression. I've wanted to kill myself at times to keep from facing the music. I've gone through all of those things, but in the end, it's what you did to yourself and on yourself before you got with any of that stuff that helps you to stay grounded. And it is during those times that you begin to appreciate close friends, mentors who encourage you, who tell you the truth, who tell you step back, step aside, take a breath, do this, do that. Those things are essential. And I think our community is starved for that.
And it's funny that you say starved, because I think me and you were talking about this last week on the truck.
Yeah.
The importance of access.
Right.
And resources. So many times, you know, just like many others in our community, we are asked for help or, you know, a point of direction of someone in need. And of course, I don't mind, and I know that you don't mind,
Right.
but it's almost like we've lost, in my opinion, that village approach. You know, we don't leave nobody behind.
Right.
If you see the next man falling short, you know, you figure out a way to pick them up.
Right.
Over the last, let's say 3 to 5 years in the city, what's been the biggest difference outside of gentrification? I mean, because we know that is going to happen regardless.
Right.
You know, for good. Some may look at it as for bad. You know, I see it as a middleman. You know, I understand what I have and the things that I want for me, and so I just focus on that. I'm not into the highs and lows of, you know, which way the wind is blowing today. But over the last 2 or 3 years, what do you see?
Well, I'm a little different. I have a little different take on that position because I'm not one who like to glorify the ghetto. I don't think we should glorify the ghetto. And I'll give you, and I'll probably get some backlash from the statement, but we talk about many of those houses where Unity Park is now. There was a group who talked about the displacement of those residents. And, you know, I say this with all kindness. We should not glorify the ghetto. Many of those houses, if we be honest, were not conducive for anyone to live in, let alone our people. I think we need to take our communities back by buying the block back. The only way you stop gentrification is to own the block, not lose it in taxes, not lose it because you are negligent, not lose it because you want to get out from what grandmama and grandpapa worked so hard to preserve. We have to become that community again that truly are the next door that you can get the cup of sugar from, that have the rent parties and the mortgage parties to help someone sustain their family's home, or to have the taxes problem, taxes parties so that we can pay the taxes to keep the house up. You know, those types of things are needed in our community. That's the next level. It's not about, Greenville is changing. Greenville is going to change. Everywhere it's going to change. Growth happens. That's something you can't avoid. How do we position ourselves in our community to take part of that growth and to move into that growth instead of standing on the sidelines screaming about the growth and how displaced and dislocated we are? When we have the ingenuity, the expertise, the fortitude, the grit, the skill, the tradesmanship, we're some of the most unique people on the face of the planet. If we put our heads together, focus this thing a little more, I think we can create the kind of community that we used to have and even greater. But until we get to that point of where we're willing to have the hard conversations on mediums like you have here, I think we're going to continue on this merry-go-round. And we all know if you stay on a merry-go-round long enough, you get sick and throw up. And I think that's where we are. We are at that sickness stage to where we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we don't know where to start or where to go next because we've jumped off the merry-go-round and we're wandering aimlessly in the dark because we're so drunken by the experience. And so I think what we're going to have to learn to do is tighten up and move forward. Now, more with your question, you veered in onto gentrification, and that's what I wanted to lean into. But I think on the second part of that, in the city of Greenville, I think, and around the various provinces, we have to show up when it's not necessary for us to show up. We have to show up beyond problems, beyond someone getting some type of a fight or some type of police brutality situation. We have to show up when it's not necessary for us to show up. We have to go to the council meetings. We have to get on these boards, commissions, We have to be seen as representing our community, even when our community can't represent itself. If enough of us show up, if enough of us show up at our schools, if enough of us show up at council meetings, if enough of us show up at the various committee meetings, they will begin to see that we're taking interest. This is like PTA, Parent Teachers Association. When you've got a problem at the school and they see that you are a present parent, they know how to deal with your kid a bit differently than when they know that you're an absentee parent. So I think we have to create that same type of attitude for our community. And that's what I see in Greenville. The only time we come together is when there's a major problem and it's necessary for us to come together and boycott or protest or do something of that nature. But we've got to be proactive and get involved beyond those things too.
So, perfect segment to lead right into my next question then. What does the community need to do to begin to understand the leverage that we have when it comes to community activists, community leadership, because we do so many things apart. Right. The support here is great, but we pick and choose, the pockets that we be in, or who we deal with. And we talk about it all the time about understanding leverage. Like, really understanding how much change can come about if we started doing things more collectively, and supportive. And I get it, everybody's busy, people have a ton of things going on in life, but how do we really dive into understanding the leverage that we have as let me say this, as Black males in our community?
I think we make time for everything under the sun that we want to make time for. And until we start seeing the state of Black America, the state of Black Greenville, the state of the Black male in Greenville as a dire situation, we're not going to make time for it. We're going to keep kicking the ball down the road, deferring our problem, or deterring it to somebody else. And I think we have to start taking it serious. And it starts with mediums like this. It starts with venues like this. And I think we must fight the temptation of quitting, even when it's difficult, when these types of things get hard. The listeners are not even sharing or doing whatever they need to do to run the ratings. I think we still have to persevere because the bigger picture is what we're focused on. So collectively, I think as Black men, we need to take where we are serious. Not as a person, but as a people. We need to take this situation serious, for we have generations coming after us who don't need to start at the bottom, who don't need to go through the same trials and tribulations that we've went through. Trauma changes DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Trauma can change your very DNA. You can go through so much that you pass it on to the next generation. That's where the generational curses are. We need to stop it right now by getting serious about where we are and getting proactive about how we fix it. And that's having the hard conversations. Listening to podcasts of this nature. Having a serious men's conference, not this fluff stuff that, talk about stuff that have nothing to do with the price of oil in Texas, but having real conversations about male leadership. We need to rebuild our men, make them men again, make them responsible, teach them how to hold that family unit together, how to hold that family unit accountable, be accountable brothers toward one another, protect our sisters, protect our children, be that force to be reckoned with. We can do it. It's in our nature. We just have drifted away because things have become more important, materialistic things. But we need to develop the mindset, hey, we're going to stick together. Again, we're going to be that cup of sugar borrower community. We're going to be that front porch community where you can walk up no matter whose house in the neighborhood and have a great conversation on the front porch and get you some life skills and information that you can take with you, not just for the next day or week, but for the rest of your life. We miss those types of things. All of us have moved out to our big houses in the suburbs, but we've left a lot of who we are behind, and now we're out there by ourselves, stressing, trying to stay out there, instead of getting together and saying, how can we redo this thing? How can we tap into what we know is already in us, because they left it in us? We just got to go back and get it.
Just piggybacking off of what you just said, what's more important right now? Understanding AI or getting our kids to appreciate and pick up trades?
I think a combination of both. I think everybody, that's that self-evaluation. I think everyone have to find their fixed niche.
Correct.
We do know that AI will never be able to wire a house or do plumbing or cut hair or be a cosmetologist.
Correct.
Those are things that AI will never be able to replace. I don't care how strong and smart it gets. Skilled trade is still skilled trade. I think our community is skilled at a lot of trades, and we need to explore those skilled trades to the place of where we are becoming solvent by doing it. AI should be an instant where I feel each individual must weigh in on it as they are comfortable with it. Not every barber knows or wants to use a computer.
Correct.
They don't have to. They can stand on their feet for 8 hours, 40 hours a week, and make $3 grand. So I think the needs must be understood, and the assessment of your fixed niche must be clarified. But I do believe both are essential for the next 30 years of our lifetimes.
So with that, we look at AI, we look at the trade industry, but we don't have the figurative role model, right? Or that core group that sits a group of young men down and say, hey, this is what you need to be looking at, not what the world is telling you to look at, not the sports, and we love sports. I take probably every fiber of me and say thank you to sports. However, I wish it was more that I would have done in conjunction with the sports. I didn't pick this part up until after all of that was done, and it's just like, okay, you figure out what the next lane looks like. There's a 12 or 13-year-old that we can actually save now by introducing him or her to other outlets of means of success. And that was the reason for the podcast. So, when you came in, I was playing something because we want to always spin the personnel and try to get an idea of what was on their mind or where they were at when they first heard that particular song. I know you're a blues man. So I had it playing. Shout out to B.B. King.
Yes, sir.
The Thrill Is Gone. And I wanted to just get your opinion, man. Like, when you first heard that or when you hear that, what emotion or what do you feel when you hear blues music?
I once heard B.B. King sitting at dinner at my home say, blues has gotten a bad rap, secular music in general, because it veered away from gospel. And he said this, and this statement, he said, the blues is nothing but a good man talking about bad situations. And it made a lot of sense. It resonated with me, because you can be good and go through a lot of bad situations, but that don't make you bad because you went through them. The blues have a way of articulating a message that helps you in the various stages of life you find yourself in, to help you cope with it. It's just like biblical stories. They're not there for any other reason but to say, hey, if this happened to them, the stuff I'm going through is like duty. I shared a thing on Facebook about if Daniel could trust God in the lion's den and God shut them mouths, then what are we dealing with here that is so hard for us to trust God with? No matter how ferocious the lions were, no matter how ferocious your problems are, they can't eat you alive because you trust in the God you serve. And the blues articulate a message in the same way of Daniel's lion den story. It says, hey, I'm not the only one that lost true love. I'm not the only one whose heart was broken. I'm not the only one who she ran off with another man and took all the money that I had in my checking account and under my mattress. I'm not that only one, you know. Somebody else been through it too.
Yeah.
And it says, now if they were able to go through it and come out the other side, then I can go through it and come out the other side. It's motivational. It keeps us from stopping. It makes us phoenix that keep rising from the ashes. No matter how much scorned and how much scorched we are, we can keep rising because there's some good in us. I don't care what anybody say. There's some good in everybody.
So I hear you say rising, and
yes,
you know, this is, you know, I hope I'm well within my
yes,
means when I ask this. You know, we had a conversation last week.
Absolutely.
And the conversation of next mirror agreement.
Yes, sir.
And how does this look? So, you know, we shared some thoughts that were amongst a few gentlemen in the cigar club. And I really want to know your thoughts, man, because I shared my opinion on what I think something like that looks like.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get you here.
Right.
And just have that conversation to ask that question.
Right.
Is it something that's in your future?
Well, I will answer that by saying I'm still in prayer mode. My wife is totally set against it, but at the end of the day, she will do what she feels is best for me and the family, and she will follow suit. The interesting part, I come with controversy, not because always of my own doing. If people understood the full dynamics of my entire lifespan and the things that I've encountered, I think they would look at things and me a lot different. But I have chose not to tell that story. I have chose not to make explanation because I don't want, and I've chose not to make it all go away, and I can with the stroke of a pen. And I've chose to do that, not do that, because I don't want anybody saying that it's too hard to start from a place of brokenness, a place of pain, a place of hurt, a place of community disdain. That's not true. U-turns are permitted on the road of life, and you can always bounce back and rise above some controversy or some contradiction or some person who sought out to destroy you simply because they are intimidated by you and jealous of you. And when rubber meets road, you have to decide whether you want to let that stuff define you or become a definition for you to rise above. And so with the running of mayor, I think Greenville is ripe and ready for a African-American leader in politics, particularly in the mayor's office. I would come with a lot of endorsements, but I also would be very strategic. It will require both black and white vote, and it will require a Republican backing and base, which I'm sure a lot of black people will not agree with, but the cause is bigger than the candidate oftentimes, you know. So with that, I am still in prayer mode. I have not said an immediate no. And I know that, and as I said that night, someone said, well, you know, they're going to bring up all that stuff. I don't care. My stuff have already been lived out loud anyway. So it's a recycled approach at that point, because there's nothing new. It's just all recycled information. So that I've lived through and lived down. And much of it was 20-something years ago anyway. So I think with regards to the position, I think it's time for there to be a black mayor in Greenville. I think we're ready for it. I am considering it, and I am strongly considering it. Our conversations last week, and my sons had not weighed in until that night, and that was refreshing to hear them say, do it, go for it.
Do it.
But at the same time, I do listen to what those say, hey, you got a good life, man. Don't even bother with that. Don't even tie yourself down with that. You love traveling. You love doing this. You don't have time to be boggled down with that. Because, hey, I've got a great wife, a great daughter, great children, great family, great life even, We can pick up and be in Miami, Florida for a weekend and fly back to Atlanta and hang out, and then come to Greenville and hang out. And, we live a charmed life. So I don't want to sacrifice any of that. And I don't want to put any of them in harm's way whatsoever. I don't want to bring them any shame or embarrassment or anything of that nature. So it is a weighty cost to consider. And I'm considering it diligently. And I'm going to let God lead me on that one.
Well, again, world, we're going to close out this episode, man. Dr. Thompson, always, I call him Doc. I've appreciated
Thank you.
the 20 plus years of friendship.
Absolutely.
The information and the phone calls
Absolutely.
At the midnight hour when nobody knew,
Absolutely.
that I was reaching out to you for information.
Absolutely.
When I needed help with my uncle who was incarcerated,
Right.
you were the one that got on the phone and got in contact with the ward, and those are the things that I never forget. Outside of how everybody else feel, I know what you've meant to me, and so I celebrate you. I've always celebrated you.
Thank you.
I joke with you all the time, and that's the humor that we have amongst ourselves over cigars weekly.
Right. Absolutely.
But for this episode, man, I thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'll continue to be in prayer with you on that leadership role.
Thank you.
If that's something that you do desire. So, Doc, before we go, I need you to tell everybody about the new cigar venture. I need you to tell everybody how they get in contact with you, how they can find you. Please share it.
Okay. The Velvet Leaf Mobile Cigar Lounge, there's currently 4 in operation. One is going to Folly Beach, which will be a permanent fixture on Folly Beach. But we have 2 here in the city of Greenville, and they are usually at Coop's Corner every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday. Wednesday night, Trevina Italian Kitchen. We have a Facebook page, the Velvet Leaf Mobile Cigar Lounge. You can get on there and find us. My personal email is uathompson, THOMPSON @me.com. Hey, reach out. Let me know that you're, following us. I'm coming out with 2 new books that I've been working on for right at six and a half months. So I look forward to putting on paper and you getting from that paper the experiences that I've had over the years and how I've done what I've done and how we've built successful businesses and, how we keep bouncing back and keep pushing forward. We also created a Velvet Leaf franchise opportunity in which, CC, we already have gotten 3 tentative contracts for lounges, one for Raleigh-Durham, one for Columbia, and one for Charleston. So we're excited about what the opportunities are before us at this point. Yes.
Yeah. So again, the Velvet Leaf, when you're in Greenville, stop by, come hang out with us. Again, man, this is totally about a Cuppa Mud, having real conversations with individuals that have experienced hardship, had to overcome barriers to obtain success. That's the conversation that we want to have here. This is nothing political. This is just information coming directly from the horse's mouth. Until next time, go get it out the mud.
Take care, family.